Welcome to another episode of the CPG Guys podcast. Our co-hosts, Sri Rajagopalan and Peter V.S. Bond, explore how brands and retailers engage with consumers online, in-store, and everywhere in between. And now, here are Sri and Peter. Welcome again to the CPG Guys podcast. I'm PVSB, half of this nefarious duo known as the CPG Guys. I'm also the Senior Vice President of Commercial Strategy and Field Sales at Fetch Rewards, the mobile loyalty platform. I am particularly intrigued by loyalty and the applications of first-party consumption data in the CPG retail industry. My co-host, my co-conspirator, he's an expert in omni-channel commerce, and he tends to be fascinated by retail media and digital marketing. Please welcome the Sultan of SWAT himself, the man known as Sri. Sri, how you doing? What's going on?
Peter, how's it going, man? And excited today because it's an old friend of the show as well as somebody I've done business with in a past life. And I can't wait to roll up my sleeves. Hopefully we get a little geeky and dive into a whole lot of details about tech as well, and not just stick up top to what the company's mission and purpose is, but also the infrastructure on which it runs. So I'm eagerly looking forward.
And Sri, you know what else is happening? Tomorrow we get on our airplanes and we fly to Las Vegas because it's grocery shop time. It's going to be a big event. We're having a little bit of a family reunion. We've got coming together with us on Monday. We've got obviously Andrea and Melissa from the Fresh Four. We got some guy that does a weekly segment on the CPG Guys LinkedIn page. What Brian Gildenberg, Gildenberg Omni Comet. That's what it is.
Goldenberg.
Okay, that's what it is. But we've also got our dear friend Risa Crandall will be there with us as well, at least. And I think her colleague Jennifer is coming later in the show. But our friends from the CPG Scoop, all we have to do is get our friends over from Europe, Ephraim and Daniel, and we'd have the whole family there. We'd have to bring a turkey and carve it up.
Well, you need Jeff from the Retail Media Minute too, so let's.
Yeah. Oh yes. And of course, we also need our good friend Jeff Malmut from Mindshare for the Retail Media Minute. But what a great trip we're going to have, right, Sri? All right. So thanks for getting this started, Sri. Before we get to our guest, I want to remind our audience that all of our content, you can find it. It's pretty simple. Just go to cpgguys.com. We have a new website, all sorts of great content. We organize our episodes into subject matter like retail media and loyalty. So please go and visit it. There's a lot of content there. It's all free. The merch costs you some money, but everything else is free. And of course, if you're not already following us on LinkedIn, what is your problem? There are 16,000 people, friends of ours in the industry, already following us on LinkedIn, and you got to be part of the action. So open up your LinkedIn mobile app on your mobile device, search for CPG Guys, and when you get there, click the blue follow button. That way you'll be privy to all of our content. We're publishing 2 episodes a week. We've got, as I mentioned, the Retail Media Minute, the Gildenberg Omni Comment, the Fresh Force, so much more. Go there. And of course, we also manage 2 closed groups on LinkedIn, CPG e-commerce and retail media professionals. We have over 1,000 members of these closed groups, and we talk about topics that are relevant to those 2 subjects. So please check them out. There'll be hyperlinks in the liner notes of this podcast. And we're on other platforms, not just LinkedIn, obviously Twitter and Facebook, but increasingly we're on Instagram and TikTok. Sri, I think we're TikTok sensations in our own mind, at least. But please do follow us there. We've got a great series we call the CPG Guys Knowledge Drops, where we share little snackable pieces of information. It's a fun way to learn about our industry. And of course, our sister podcast, the FMCG Guys over in the EU, hosted by Daniel and Ephraim, and the new CPG Scoop, featuring Jennifer and Risa. They conduct snackable conversations with industry veterans. It's also a fun way to discover what's new and next in CPG commerce. Visit cpgscoop.com to learn more about their podcast. And of course, we are very proud to partner with Next Up, formerly known as Network of Executive Women, whose mission it is to advance all women in business and to promote the cause of gender equality and career development. Visit nextupisnow.org/CPG Guys, link in digital liner notes, to learn more about this great group. Well, let's get on to why we're here today. Today's episode deals with visual content and its application in retail and social media. Brands and retailers are working very rapidly to adjust to the explosion of social media channels and the hunger that they have for content, right? But obviously, creating relevant content is a huge demand on marketers in our industry. Banner ads, images, videos, even NFTs. Sri, do you know an NFT is a non-fungible token? We should talk about that more in this podcast. But anyhow.
Should we, Peter? I think we've had...
Have we talked about that?
I mean, we've had 2 episodes.
Oh, we have. Yeah, okay, that's good.
Yeah, we have. Twice.
But those are the kind of things that are needed to win in an increasingly digitally driven world of commerce. The CPG guys have partnered on this episode with It's Rapid, a platform that helps its clients scale content creation while adhering to brand style guidelines that they have established. That's a big challenge, right? You want to scale, but you've established parameters. How do you scale within those parameters and make it work across all the different platforms where that content can exist? What started out as a simple web tool for building e-commerce banners for a single retailer rapidly became a comprehensive tool for creating banners, images, videos, and more across multiple retailers, social networks, and direct-to-consumer sites. It's Rapid now supports a variety of different channels, formats, and brand style guides across retail media networks, social networks, and on-page. We're talking both above and below the fold here, Sri. All right? So joining us to talk about scaling content creation is the founder and CEO of It's Rapid. Please join Sri and me in welcoming to the podcast Dave Feinleib. Dave, welcome. How you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on the show. I love what you've done with it and excited to be here.
Well, we're quite excited to have you. I know you're an old friend. You've worked with Sri in the past, and it's always good to reconnect. And it's a great time to do it because I think what you've created with It's Rapid is so on point for what is needed in this world of digital commerce. So we're really excited to learn more about that. But before we get to the questions that we've prepared, would you first provide our audience just a brief overview? I mean, I gave a little bit of background on it, but just a brief overview of how you would describe It's Rapid and where online people can go to find more about your business.
Yeah, for sure. I may have to borrow some of your description there. That was amazing. We're at It's Rapid, ITSRAPID.io. You can find us there, and you can email me as well, of course. We take content. A lot of times you already have content and media that you already have, but it's not built for the web, or it's not built for e-com, or it's long form, or it's too high res, whatever it is. And we take all that content and transform it into something that you can use, as you said, across social, across retail, across paid, across organic, across all these different platforms that you now need to be present on as a brand. And TikTok, Instagram, Instacart, Walmart, Amazon, Direct, all those are different places where you can be building your brand. And where our focus is really on visual content, visual media, because we think that's kind of the next big opportunity and the next big way to tell your brand story and sell more and convert more shoppers.
Thank you for that, Dave. To our audience, we're going to put in the digital liner notes of this podcast episode links to Dave's LinkedIn page, to the It's Rapid site, and also his email address. Little teaser here, people. If you want to talk to Dave, I hear he might be at Grocery Shop in Las Vegas. So do avail yourself because he's got some pretty interesting stuff. I think you're going to want to reach out to him. So go, 90+% of you use a mobile device to listen to this podcast. Go to the digital liner notes and click on the hyperlink, and you can reach out to Dave and actually talk to him in person. So please do that. All right, Dave. So thank you for that. Why don't we get to the questions? Sri and I have prepared for you. We're looking forward to digging in a little deeper on what you're offering. Dave, as I look through your background, a really incredible professional and educational history. You've got degrees from Cornell and Stanford. You worked at Microsoft. And a lot of other companies focused on big data. In fact, you sold one off a number of years ago. To me, nothing screams big data more than images and videos. I mean, I think about how much it takes for me to upload some of the videos of the CPG Guys podcast, and we're like, that's a lot of data, right? So in 2013, you founded a content analytics company, which you sold 6 years later. What was the catalyst for launching It's Rapid earlier this year? What was the need that you were trying to solve with the initial concept for this business?
Yeah, it's an interesting place to be as an entrepreneur. Steve Jobs has this quote about how things only make sense, once you're there. If you're looking backward, if you were to look forward, you wouldn't see how the dots would connect. But very fortuitously with content analytics, we got to work on content health scoring and some of the largest brands and retailers in the world. And after we exited that business, one of our previous clients, PepsiCo, contacted us and said, we know you know how to do analytics. We know you know how to store the content. Those areas are, in some ways maturing. But now the next big challenge, and we kind of brainstormed this together, is how can we create all that content, all that visual media that's required? So I feel like a lot of times as an entrepreneur, you're looking for that next opportunity and you keep searching for it. And then it's right there in front of you. And, we count ourselves extremely fortunate to have a client like Pepsi and now other brands and retailers to kind of help us explore and see the opportunity.
Hey, Dave, and this is Brian Geldenberg here. I wasn't just hanging around in the studio waiting for everybody to show up randomly, but done some work with Dave and one of the advisors for this as well. I think the other thing which we'll navigate is that as you've gone through this process, I think one of the things you've done a really good job of is kind of listening to the client needs as the space evolves. And I think you'll find that what It's Rapid is today is quite different than what it started as and even what you conceived it as the client needs have shifted. Peter, to your excellent point, as the data needs have changed, gotten bigger and gotten harder to manage, the other underlying principle, I think, of It's Rapid, which is brilliant, is it's just so easy to use. And it's really easy for the team members to execute. So that ease of use and speed combined with the changing world, I think is just one of the really strong attributes and features of the product.
Yeah, that's exactly it. If you think about where the bottlenecks are and the challenges are historically, it's all been around speed and around scale. And Peter, to your point around how do you adhere to the brand guidelines, and now how do you also adhere to the retailer guidelines? So that's a lot of complexity and a lot of requirements while you're also trying to execute, much faster and a much larger volume of content than you did in the past.
So Peter, how do we phrase this? Do we say it's a rapid evolution for them, or do we say it's rapid evolution? I'm just trying to be funny.
I think it's the latter.
It's the latter. It's rapid evolution in the content world. You like that?
I do.
So jokes apart. So when you started speaking, you gave the example of Pepsi being your first and doing the brainstorming, and then you've been evolving over time with the solutions you provide. But as you started to speak with potential clients, what were specifically the content areas in which they needed the most help scaling? And then, because all brands, and boy, I've touched many of those over my career, have style guidelines, and you got to stay within and comply with brand style guidelines.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we started with display ads, banners, kind of the traditional form factor, if you will. And then what we found as we showed this product to different clients was someone would say, oh, that's great. Can I use it for, an image on the page? Can I use it to help create my brand page? Can I use it for, a quick video on Instagram? These are all the different ways you can use kind of the same core functionality, which is template driven, which is themes, which is sort of encoding the brand guidelines into the software, if you will, so that virtually everyone in your organization can start creating content.
And Dave, it was the brand guidelines and the retailer guidelines that are embedded together, right? So
Exactly.
You're not just producing a Pepsi ad that the Mountain Dew brand manager would like. you're producing a Mountain Dew ad for Walmart. That's 90% of the way to being exactly what the Mountain Dew brand manager would want and the Walmart buyer would want together. And the retailer rules are all stored within the platform so that it's easy to adapt one piece of content across multiple retailers.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
I'm merely repeating what you said to me. So.
But that's exactly it. I mean, it is so hard to adhere to one set of guidelines and then to have to adhere to multiple guidelines. And then if you think about your brand guidelines, especially if you have a multi-brand portfolio, like if you look at, for example, Pepsi working across 23 different brands globally. If you look at our client Revlon, who's working across multiple brands, you have style guides for each one of those. And then those style guides are evolving, as they refresh the brand from year to year, or they do a brand update, you've got to refresh all those guidelines. So it's much easier to have that kind of encoded or stored in the software and then be able to have the intersection of that with the retailer guidelines sort of all handled for you. And that's a big part of what accelerates the process.
So Dave, then in this kind of a transformative world with respect to all these demands and requirements, from your perspective, what's changed when it comes to the actual content and what are the bottlenecks for a brand to create this content that you believe It's Rapid has successfully addressed?
Yeah. The last 5-10 years has been about, can we get the pack shot live on the site? Do we have a place to store that? And I think there's always been the appetite to create more content, but the approach, the workflow has been 3 to 5 weeks maybe at a brand, but it could be longer. We see clients who have a 10, 12, 16-week cycle to get content live. And so it's that approach. It's really changing that approach and taking out a lot of the steps, being able to do them online, being able to do them collaboratively, much more rapid prototyping. I think that new approach is going to work a lot better versus kind of the classic 5-week, 10-week, 15-week cycle that we've been used to the last 5 or 10 years.
That is impressive. I like the idea of prototyping as well, because typically the world that I'm used to, very large brands, is it takes that long because the agency will come back after 4 weeks and give you the content for the first time. And then if you don't like it, the iterative circle, just when you rapid prototype, you can avoid that iterative cycle of the back and forth, which often just extends weeks. So that's awesome that the software can help that, and that's a bottleneck that can be destroyed. But I'd also say creating content requires a very good understanding of where and what that content is going to finally sit and how it's going to get used for, aka where it's going to appear. You've gone so far as to partner with digitally focused retailers to ensure the content you create is compliant, as we spoke to, with their style guides and requirements. So for what channels across the board are you helping your clients actually develop such rapid prototyped content?
Yeah, I like this way of talking about it a lot. We just announced a partnership with Instacart as one example, and we were certified as a Amazon Creative Services partner. So those are some good examples of announcements we've done recently. But
I'm vaguely familiar with those companies.
You may have heard of them.
Sri, I think you might have heard of them too. I'm not sure.
and we're in a lot of ways pulled by our brand clients. They'll say, okay, we're working with you on Amazon, or we're working with you on Instacart, but now we want to do a campaign on Walmart. And so then we have the templates for Walmart. We have templates for Kroger, for lots of other retailers. We're now expanding into the UK, in Europe and Latin America. So really anywhere we have a template and a need, we'll build those out in the platform. The other really exciting one is social. People see these quick videos, these animated videos. They're short, but they're engaging, and they're fun, and they're a great way to show products in your lineup. And we're seeing a lot of interest in that on Instagram. So I'm excited about that as well.
And the ability to get more tailored and targeted. I think, when you start to talk about markets like Latin America, where some of the large brands in the world may just not have the teams in Colombia to be able to do even 1/100th of what they're able to do in the US from a retail and commerce facing site. So the simplicity with which you can help, a brand execute something that's really specific for the retailer across a multitude of platforms there, I think it's really powerful. And the fewer steps and the fewer hours of labor that need to go into these things, the greater the potential it is to deliver relevant content in a wider variety of ecosystems. Because at some point, Sri and Peter, you both know this from your own worlds, if you're doing it manually, at some point the trade-off between human time and cost and the benefits of the granularity start to go down pretty quickly. So, making the process faster allows you to use more platforms to become more granular.
And David, I have a follow-up question for you. You refer to short videos and animated content. Today's human attention span, especially the way YouTube runs, you can hit the skip button after 6 seconds, and almost all platforms are starting to adopt this. So when you refer to animated short video content, are you referring to that 6-second, like less than 10-second timeframes, or?
Yeah, exactly. We're seeing people create videos that are 5-6 seconds long. They might show 3 or 4 products. They're really, really quick. They show the products one after the other, got a buy now button there, and then it clicks through to your site or another portal. They're really short form. Now, we do also see brands doing, longer form content. We're seeing Revlon do videos 15-20 seconds long, but again, those are scaled down from the raw footage that's 3, 4, 5 minutes in length. But it can be really, really quick. We call it bite-sized content, and we think that's sort of the next, it's here today, but it's going to become even more prevalent.
To hear that, Sri, 15 seconds is long form. Oh my goodness. I want to remind you, we are speaking today with Dave Feinleib, founder and CEO of It's Rapid. So Dave, why is visual media difficult to execute on? What are leading brands doing differently to capture this opportunity? And what is actually possible when you streamline the creation of visual media, visual content, at least from It's Rapid's perspective?
Yeah, it's very interesting. We spent the last 5-10 years optimizing for the desktop, right? Long form, the text, very text heavy. And, we're seeing now shopping rates of 70+% or more now, purchasing happening on a mobile device. So that's a much smaller screen, much smaller form factor, and it just lends itself to visual content. So that's one big driver. Plus you have the retailers really focusing on and pushing the retail media networks. And so you're going to see more visual content on virtually every e-commerce site you're going to be on. So those all are coming together to drive a much greater need for visual content. And again, we've always wanted to produce that level of content, but we've lacked the workflow and the tool set to be able to do it kind of this personalized content at scale. So that, I think, is sort of the big change. So the bottleneck's been the workflow and the speed constraints, and the unlock or the opportunity is, can we do it faster? As Sri, as you put it, can we do it in a much more rapid prototyping, model, an agile model, and really apply that to a new approach to produce a lot more content, but actually have it be, a lot of different opportunities. We could have display ads that are aligned with product pages. We could do seasonal instead of seasonal being once a year or twice a year. It could be every month. So those are the sort of rapid experiments and workflows and new content initiatives that we're seeing some of these leading brands do.
And now, Peter, here on the CPG Guys, we're going to go into the sausage making of It's Rapid. So I'm trying to be funny, guys. Not even a smile from any of you.
Sri, it's just funny coming from a vegetarian that we're going to talk about sausage making.
Look who's funny now. So I want to get a little bit into the tech platforms, et cetera, and the backbone of It's Rapid, right? I'm going to ask this two questions. Number one, Dave, is what are the solutions? Like what are the actual solutions your clients can touch? And then is it a SaaS platform? Is it a managed service platform? What is the actual offering? And then are you taking this one step further for agencies and offering a white label solution? So give us the end user product and give us the backbone as well.
So it's a great question, which is how do you access this capability? We offer both a managed service and a self-serve portal. And what we find is that clients tend to use both. They might start off with managed service, and we might be working directly with them to produce that initial content. And then as they get more comfortable, they're coming into the portal themselves, all web-based. There's no software to install. And then they're editing, they're adding their own imagery, they're producing their own content. You know, Brian, as you talked about, they might start on one retailer, and then we did that with them as a managed service. Now they're broadening to multiple retailers, social, and they're doing all that themselves. So our goal as a company is really to make it easy and to make it as fast as possible for you to get in there and get value from the tool set. And whichever path is going to work best for you, managed or self-serve or a hybrid, that's the model we're going to work with you on.
And I think the other interesting thing about your model is that not only is the move from managed to self-serve easy, but the self that's doing the serving can change, right? So you need a much lower level of graphic design talent to be able to execute ads successfully in the It's Rapid platform than you do just trying to hand draw them on your own, right? So it allows you to think about a labor model that works differently as you seek to serve up more granular content in a wider variety of platforms. You can do that with on balance with a more junior group of people, and you can get this sort of high hours but low interest work off the plate of people that don't want to do that, which is another huge win the platform gives you when you get into self-serves. It's the selves that are serving that are different too.
Well, Dave, we would love if you could share with our audience an example or two of how It's Rapid has enabled scalable content creation and the outcomes that have come from these activities. I think that'll really dimensionalize what exactly it is that you're doing for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll start with Pepsi. They have 23 brands they're using this with globally across multiple retailers. Historically, it would take 4 to 5 weeks to go end to end on a campaign. That's from brief to, revisions, feedback, input to the final output. They're now able to do that same cycle in 15 minutes. So a really, really incredible acceleration. And that also means that they're able to do a lot more A/B testing. So in that same time, not only are they getting the efficiency, which is valuable, of course, but the real upside is they're able to produce multiple versions of that content and see what's going to perform the best, and they're able to do it on multiple platforms. So that's really exciting. Another great example is with a cosmetics brand, Revlon, as I mentioned, that is taking the existing content that they have and doing a brand refresh across almost 100 different SKUs. And so that just, wouldn't have been possible in kind of the traditional models. So with this more template-driven approach, building in their style guides, so they know it's going to adhere to their style guides and the retailer style guides, they're able to really accelerate what they're doing.
Is it okay, Dave, for me to ask, the example you just gave of A/B testing, 15-minute outcomes for content, is it in the cosmetic space, the example that you just gave, who's actually doing this today?
The A/B testing is in the CPG space, where this client would do a version of the display ad, for example, but that's because that's all the time they had to build it. So they had a set amount of time and they could produce this one, maybe two creatives. Now they can say, okay, I'm going to try 5 or 10 different offers, different price points, different wording, different messaging in the creative. And I can even do seasonal. I could try something for Labor Day and then right away do something that's tailgating, go to Halloween, go to Thanksgiving. Whereas before they might have picked 1 or 2 opportunities. Now they can just keep testing. So it's a much more rapid testing approach. So the A/B testing could be side by side at the same time, or it could be sequential where they do a campaign this week and then turn around, a week or 2 later and do a whole new campaign.
It's also interesting given your partnership with Instacart, Dave, because they also just went out and bought a business last week called Eversight that does a lot of A/B testing from a pricing point of view. So I think it'll be interesting to see how Instacart's capabilities evolve and as they market themselves as a platform that can do a wide range of testing and act as a testing lab for manufacturers as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, quite impressive. I'm glad that you actually gave us the example, and then the fact that it's happening in CPG today. I'm not so sure if there's broad awareness that you can actually create 15-minute content and do A/B testing at this scale that you describe via prototyping. So I'm going to ask you to look a little future forward on the platform itself. And so what's next? Like, where are you looking to enhance the solution portfolio of It's Rapid? And then if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for brands, retailers, agencies to begin exploring with you? And then what's an ideal partner of yours, somebody earlier as a startup? You've given examples of brands with extreme scale that are looking to refresh their content. So you can throw some highlights on that.
Yeah, great question. So next is more capabilities for our clients. Of course, we're very much a company that listens to the customer, and that helps direct us as to where we're going to go. We know that supporting more platforms is important. Workflow, so collaborative capabilities is important, and also integrations, both with repositories of content, PIM and DAM systems on the input side, and then on the delivery side, expect us to have more announcements around like the kind of announcements we've done with Instacart and Amazon. So I think that's our general roadmap, and we're excited to kind of see where the clients lead us and where we can help people produce more content. You can find us on the web at itsrapid.io, itsrapid.io. Feel free to email me directly, dave@itsrapid.io. And as Peter mentioned, we're also going to be at Grocery Shop, so we'd love to see you there.
If you like what you heard in today's episode, there's an easy way to get more of it. Just go to cpgguys.com and you can find all our content. And of course, if you like what you're hearing and you think, hey, I could probably contribute to the conversation, drop us a line at contact@cpgguys.com, and maybe you can join us on a future podcast episode. And while you're on CPG Guys, don't forget to drop us a rating and write a review. Just go to the navigation bar. It's right there at the top. We want to be responsive to our audience now, more than 15,000, almost 16,000 followers. And the best way we can do that is to solicit your feedback. So please do that. Dave Feinleib, I really want to thank you for joining Shri and me on the podcast today to talk about It's Rapid and your ability to help brands generate content at scale that is compliant with both brand style guidelines and, of course, retailer display requirements. Thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Peter, Sri, thanks for having me on the show. I'll leave you with one line to wrap things up with. The great thing about visual content, visual media, which is applicable not only to these large brands that I talked about, but also to smaller brands, is that it's an area where you can start it with some will and some skill, but you don't need a huge budget. So it's such a great place to just jump in and get going and see what's possible. And Brian, I really appreciate your joining and being on the show with us.
Brian, thanks for jumping on and being the special celebrity guest as far as celebrities go. I told you when it comes to our friends, you're the rankest of the rank punditry experts. So thanks for joining us, of course, Brian. All right, Shri, the drum roll, please. Give us the salient points, the real standouts from our conversation today with Dave about visual content.
My big takeaway, Peter, is straightforward. When it's will and skill, it's always rapid evolution. You like that one?
That was slick. That was slick money.
Oh, Dave's got a smile on his face. For those watching the video on Instagram, you're seeing Dave's got a smile, and now he's going to put it on the website. But jokes apart, guys, let me summarize this episode for all of you listening. We started up top with how you can find Dave and the mission. Straightforward, itsrapid.io, itsrapid.io. And of course, the focus for this episode and what Dave does is visual media. I'm going to throw a little bit of praise here on Dave from his past life. I mean, I do think of him as one of the godfathers of content. If you all don't know his past, go to LinkedIn, check out David Feinleib, and just look at his past and the company that he created with content analytics and what they did there. If we go back, like me, 10 years in the history of e-com, you were using his company to move your content along on day one. And then we've come through one evolution of content to a second evolution where there are problems in the industry just with the scale of content today. So one such problem is adhering to retail guidelines. And Dave shared the fact that the software actually stores the retail guidelines. And my gosh, Dave, I remember the months and months of struggle with the software not storing the guidelines, and it had to be matched manually, looking at a PIM DAM thing. The DAM would always have all kinds of rules that would break all the time. And sounds like you're actually solving that problem and accelerating the process of content development, which is the anchor of your company. And then we, of course, took on a friendly area, which is creation of content normally takes 4 weeks, sometimes 12, sometimes I'm going to say forever. And then through a rapid prototyping process by taking out steps in the process and allowing prototyping, you're moving this down from less than 4 weeks, which is nothing short of unheard of. Forget about incredible. Congratulations on your partnership with Instacart, being certified by Amazon as a true partner on the creative side. A creative services partner is what I think the accreditation actually is. Expanding to UK and Latin America. So those of you listening to us from South America or the UK, you have a chance now to partner with David as well on rapid content development and rollout. And then we started talking about the content is not limited to just images. It's also animated videos. And I asked you the question about 6-second format content. And you said you're seeing plenty of that in the marketplace, and the fact that your prediction, it would be a whole lot more prevalent. Yeah, I asked you about the platform of the content. Is it self-service managed? And you said your clients actually have a choice. They could be hybrid. They could be fully self-service. They could be fully managed, whatever it takes in a given client scenario. And then we got back into some depths of how you can do 15-minute rapid content. I'm going to repeat that. 15-minute rapid content. Talk about unheard of. And the whole purpose of why somebody would do that is A/B testing, and you can actually do it with It's Rapid. And finally, we took a deeper dive into what's next, right? And I think you gave the best answer one can. Your clients determine your fate, or your clients determine your product roadmap. And the very next few asks that are on the horizon you're looking at with It's Rapid is the workflow capability, the collaborative capability, which is bang on the money for where you need to be. And then the PIM DAM integration, actual PIM DAM, things of that nature, which is your wheelhouse, Dave. So we know here on the CPG guys, It's Rapid is going places.
Yeah.
We also know it's a rapid evolution. I can't stop saying that, Peter. It's will and skill. That's what's going to drive it. How'd you like that, Peter?
That was good, Shri. Thank you for that summary. Really appreciate it. And as always, love doing this podcast with you. Nobody learns more about this industry from this podcast than you and me, brother. So we have the best seats in the house, don't we? So thank you for that. Looking forward to seeing both you and Dave next week at Grocery Shop and Viva Las Vegas. And to our audience, thanks as always for joining us. We look forward to speaking with you on the next episode of the CPG Guys podcast. Goodbye. Content in this podcast episode is provided for general informational purposes only. By listening to our episode, you understand that no information contained in this episode should be construed as advice from CPG Guys LLC or the individual author, hosts, or guests, nor is it intended to be a substitute for research on any subject matter. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by CPG Guys LLC. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. The views expressed by CPG Guys LLC do not represent the views of their employers or the entity they represent. CPG Guys LLC expressly disclaims any and all liability or responsibility for any direct, indirect, incidental, special, consequential, or other damages arising out of any individual's use of, reference to, or inability to use this podcast or the information we present in this podcast.